As I mentioned at the beginning of the Mass, today is the feast day of St. Anthony of Padua. And there's one of my colleagues from Portugal, and he always reminded me that even though he's called St. Anthony of Padua in Italy, St. Anthony was born in Portugal. He was born in Lisbon, in Portugal. And he came from a very religious family, and needless to say, he ended up studying in the cathedral school in Lisbon. But then an event happened to him which changed his life. He was transferred to the city of Coimbra in Portugal, and then the Franciscan order, which had been formed about 11 years earlier, brought back 5 of their members who had been martyred in Morocco in the north of Africa. And Anthony was deeply touched to see the commitment and the zeal of these Franciscans, so much so that he chose to join the Franciscan order. And then his idea was he wanted to go to Morocco to evangelize in Morocco. But he took sick. He got ill. So he had to return in the ship supposed to be returning to Portugal. And the ship ended up in Sicily in Italy. And that's how he ended up in Italy, was through a shipwreck, really. And then he led a very devoted life, very attached to the scriptures and to religious readings. At one time, he was at an priesthood ordination event. And the Dominicans were there, and they thought that one of the Dominicans would give the homily. But they were not prepared, so the Franciscans had to give the homily. So they chose St. Anthony. St. Anthony got up, and they found he was a good preacher, a good teacher. And then Francis of Assisi invited him to be the teacher to the candidates for the Franciscans. Eventually, he passed away. He died in Padua, in Italy. Yet his legacy lives on very strongly. Indeed, he was canonized less than a year after he died, which is really unusual. And the story goes that in his teaching, he had this psalter, this religious book, in which he put many notes to help him in his teaching. And this book, one novice, a candidate, left the order from the novitiate and took the book with him. And Anthony prayed and prayed and prayed, and lo and behold, the book was returned. Moreover, the novice came back to finish his studies. That's why now we say that Tony, Tony, come around, something's lost and must be found. Something remains dear to us in our life, that those feelings, those longings always help us in the difficult times of life.